I think last season the Penn State Nittany Lions reminded all of us why this is one of the most premier teams in the Big Ten, if not in the entire country. And James Franklin's bunch is set up for great success in 2023. They got all the pieces necessary to make a true title run. However, there's only one problem. They play in one of the toughest divisions in all of college football. So can the Nittany Lions and Penn State break through, get to Indianapolis, and their first ever college football playoff appearance, or will the Nittany Lions fall victim to the tough competition above them in the Big Ten? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 133 college football FBS level teams this summer, and that means I'm doing your favorite team. So I need to go ahead and hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when your favorite team gets uploaded. And hey, you can do more than that to help support my channel. You're doing one right now by getting a view on this video, and you can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, really anything else you can think of to support my channel. I'd be grateful for whatever you guys are able to do. Stay hydrated, kids. It's important. Make sure you keep water in you. Okay, the Penn State Nittany Lions are up next for predictions. How do predictions work this year? I'm glad you asked. Here's how we do it. We go through the roster, and we take a look at who they lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class. And then we'll take a look at the schedule, give it a little preview, and a game-by-game prediction. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Penn State Nittany Lions in 2023. There's a new starting quarterback in town because Sean Clifford, the X-year starter, felt like he was there for 10 years, is gone. 2,822 yards with 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on 64% completion last year for Sean Clifford. He is gone. But the man behind him last year, 344 yards, 4 touchdowns, and limited playing time in Drew Aller, has every expectation in the world to be amazing coming into 2023, and I think he will be. Once it's all said and done, he could prove to be the best quarterback in the Big Ten Conference in 2023. He's got that much upside, but Drew Aller, I think, is going to be absolutely magnificent. He's got really good arm strength. He can run with his legs. I think Drew Aller is going to be amazing, and he's got weapons to work with in the backfield. They do lose Devin Ford and Kavion Lee, some depth pieces to this Penn State team. However, you return Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, both of which were amazing for the Nittany Lions last year. Singleton, 1,061 yards and 12 touchdowns, and Allen, 867 yards and 10 touchdowns last season. And you also get a transfer from the University of Minnesota over in Trey Potts to help bolster this running back room. Trey Potts was really, really good for the Golden Gophers, a 3-star rated transfer according to 24/7. In the wide receiver room, hey, a couple really nice options are gone. Parker Washington and Mitchell Tinsley were your 2 leaders in the wide receiver room last year. Washington, 611 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tinsley, 577 yards, 5 touchdowns. However, you return some real nice talent in Keandre Lambert-Smith and Harrison Wallace will be your top 2 returning guys for Penn State, but you are getting a lot more through the transfer portal. A 4-star rated transfer according to 24/7, and Dante Cephas comes over from Kent State, and then Malik McClain comes over from Florida State to give a little more size to this Penn State wide receiver room. Malik McClain is 6'4", 201 pounds. In the tight end room, you do lose Brenton Strange. However, Theo Johnson and Tyler Warren both come back. Theo Johnson will be the premier tight end for Penn State next year, as Brenton Strange, of course, leaving 362 yards, 5 touchdowns. Theo Johnson was not far behind him with 328 yards, 4 touchdowns, and had a higher yards per catch average. So with Drew Aller here, his high upside at quarterback, he's got a lot of weapons to pick from here, and Penn State's getting a lot of good options through the portal there in the wide receiver room, and Cephas and McClain as well. The offensive line, really only loss I could find was Juice Scruggs, but you get so much production back on this offensive line. Olu Fashanu, I believe I said that name right. If not, you can please correct me. He returns, as well as Caden Wallace and Landon Tangwell, among others. This is going to be one of the best offensive lines across the entire nation here in Happy Valley. Defensively, what are we looking at for Penn State here? Well, PJ Mustipher and Nick Tarberton both leave this defensive line. PJ Mustipher had 37 tackles, but yet failed to record a sack last year. Tarberton, 22 tackles and 2 sacks last season. But you return Adisa Isaac, Chop Robinson, and Danny Dennis Sutton come back there as well. So those are going to be some guys that are going to be really, really good options on the defensive line for Penn State. In the linebacker room, well, you return pretty much everyone here. Abdul Carter comes back, Curtis Jacobs returning as well as Tyler Eldson and Kobe King are all going to be phenomenal options. Those were 4 of your 5 leading tacklers last season. The other one, your top tackler last year was Jair Brown. He is gone out of the defensive secondary and had 4 picks for this team last year, was phenomenal. But you also do lose Joey Porter and Jonathan Sutherland are all gone. However, this secondary is still loaded. Kalen King, Keaton Ellis, Jalen Reed, and Johnny Dixon are all still coming back for this team and will be dynamite weapons in the secondary for Penn State this year. This team is loaded for success. Drew Aller has high expectations. I think he's going to be really good. The running back room is really good. The wide receiver room is good. This defense is loaded. Penn State is going to be a phenomenal team in 2023, even could be top 5 team. Their head coach is James Franklin. Your offensive coordinator is Mike Yursich. Defensive coordinator Manny Diaz, as we take a look at the 2023 schedule for the Penn State Nittany Lions. Any game that you see Penn State play at home will be underlined. Any game in italics or the slanted text is a game Penn State has on the road. Any game in green is a game where Penn State should be able to win easily. Any game in yellow is okay. They're going to push Penn State and give them a little bit of a fight, but at the end of the day, Penn State will come out victorious. And then red, of course, is a loss. So without further ado, the Penn State Nittany Lions, ladies and gentlemen, in 2023 start out with West Virginia. Now, the Big 12 is going to be a very competitive conference. Of course, it expanded this year, but West Virginia, I just don't see having much success this season. They lost a lot of production. I also do not think Neil Brown is the solution there at West Virginia. I think West Virginia is in for a very, very disappointing year, and Penn State, I think, is going to run over the Mountaineers with all the sheer aggression and talent and strength and physicality that Penn State possesses. Will beat their Power 5 opponent in West Virginia, and they should get an easy win here with Delaware the next week as well. Before you start your Big Ten slate with a very interesting game on the road against Illinois. Illinois has been giving teams fits in the past. They gave fits to Penn State a couple years ago, in fact, to beat them, and they almost were able to beat Michigan last season. And this Illinois team is set up for great success. Again, they're getting a quarterback transfer coming in there in Luke Altmaier over from Ole Miss. That should be really good for them. And this Illinois defense under Brett Bielema, I think, is still going to be really good. However, they are losing some pieces in the running back room and across some other offensive positions as well. I do not see Illinois being as good of a team as they were last year, but I think the physicality of that defense is going to give Penn State a hard time. So I see this being a close competitive game, but I think Penn State will be more physical than Illinois. Penn State will grind out that win in week 3. And then you get a game here against Iowa. We know the story with Iowa. Their offense was atrocious last year, but they're getting Cade McNamara to help bolster it up. And there are some other weapons coming in there to Iowa as well. And the defense, I think, is going to be elite for Iowa again this year, but they're not going to be as good as Penn State, especially offensively. I just don't see Cade McNamara being the end-all, be-all solution for Iowa, and I think Penn State's defense will do a lot to help slow down that attack. Penn State will get that win at home against Iowa. Then you go on the road to play Northwestern. I just don't have confidence in this Northwestern roster. Now, I have full confidence in Pat Fitzgerald and that coaching staff, just not in the Northwestern roster. I do not think it's going to be good. I think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. Penn State gets an easy win on the road, and then they get their bye week and a tune-up game before the Ohio State Buckeyes. Don't have to speak UMass, one of the worst teams in the FBS ranks. Penn State will win that one easily. Here's the game where every Penn State fan is circling, right? The game on the road against Ohio State. Water break. Ohio State's going to have one of the best offenses in the entire country, and the expectation surrounding Columbus is that defense improves this season with year 2 under Jim Knowles, and I think it will. I think Ohio State's defense has the potential to be really good this year, but the offense is legit. No matter who's the quarterback for this team, this offense has too many weapons to not put up 40 a game, which is what Ohio State is very much so capable of putting up this season. And I do think Penn State being able to go on the road here, I think they're going to give Ohio State a nice fight. I think the physicality of Penn State is going to give Ohio State some struggles, but once it's all said and done at the end of the day, I think Ohio State's offense is too explosive, and much like what we saw last year in Happy Valley, I think Ohio State's offense steps up, makes that extra play, makes the one or two plays that it needs to seal the deal, and the Buckeyes will walk away victorious in the game against Penn State in Week 8. Week 9, Penn State plays Indiana. Should be a nice bounce-back game for them. I don't think Penn State will have any trouble with Indiana at all. Tom Allen, I think, could be seeing his way out the door at Indiana after this season. Indiana is losing a lot of talent to the transfer portal. Not a very good team there in Indiana. I think Penn State will win that one quite easily. Road game against Maryland here. Maryland's got some true potential this year, especially offensively. Taulia Tagovailoa comes back. He's got a lot of great weapons to work with, but the story with Maryland is defensively. And even a lot of the good players who put up a lot of production for Maryland last year defensively are also gone. So Maryland, while I do think they're going to give Penn State a fight and they're going to give them a fit, Penn State, I think, is going to show out here against Maryland and get a close win. And I think they're going to run all over Maryland's defense. Then it's the game against Michigan, and Penn State has a real shot to pull this one off here. And this would be a game where I would not surprise Penn State being able to win. But it's two very, very physical teams, two very good trench play. Offensive line is going to be key here. Which one just ends up stopping the other defensive line more often than not, right? Michigan's got J.J. McCarthy. Penn State's got Drew Aller. This is going to be a very, very close, very, very competitive game. But Penn State, and I think this is the first time I'm saying it this video, I feel like Penn State is just 1 year away. Give Drew Aller 1 year, and I think Penn State will be able to pull off a win like this. However, I think Michigan, with Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, will do a little too much to this Penn State defense, and Michigan gets a key win on the road against Penn State. So Penn State falls to the two teams projected above them in Ohio State and Michigan. However, they'll get a nice bounce-back game with that game against Rutgers right there. No way the Nittany Lions will end up dropping that game to the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And then you finish off this game, I believe, was originally slated to play on Saturday, but as far as my knowledge goes, and this could have changed already, but the game will be played in Detroit on a Friday. And I just think Michigan State has too many question marks. While they will give Penn State some fight here in this neutral site game, too many question marks. Who plays quarterback? Who replaces Keon Coleman? I like some of the pieces they have on the defensive side, and I think we'll give Penn State a little bit of a challenge that way. But Michigan State, I do not think will have the offensive firepower this year to even come remotely close to beating a defense quite like Penn State is going to possess in 2023, which leads the Nittany Lions, for me, sitting with a record of 10-2. I think this is still going to be a very good year for Penn State, and this team has all the ability in the world to go undefeated. And they can beat Ohio State, and they can beat Michigan. However, I just think one more year, I do think next year Penn State's going to look and be ready to explode and be a real good team and can challenge the likes of Ohio State, Michigan. Not that they can't this year, but next year I see them being as more of a challenge than they're going to be this year. That's going to do it for my Penn State prediction. Let me know what you guys think. Please comment, like, subscribe, do anything you can to support the channel. And remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next one. Goodbye.